The air tasted like frozen metal against my teeth, that sharp tang of ozone and rust that only comes from deep winter on the slopes. Our 9 footprints, fresh that morning, crunched in the snow beneath the pale, watchful eye of a moon too large for the sky. We call at Seattle, they called it Dead Mountain, a name we laughed off with youthful bravado around the campfire, sharing steaming tea and singing folk songs. But that night, inside the cramped tent, the laughter felt brittle, forced. Ivan joked about frostbite, but his knuckles were white on his mug. Semyon's usual calm had a frayed edge as he checked the windward seams for the third time. Outside, the silence wasn't peaceful. It felt, held breath, like the mountain itself was listening to us chatter in our fragile nylon bubble. That afternoon's climb had been a grind through thigh-deep powder, lungs burning with the thin, sharp air. We were strong, experienced, chosen for this expedition. Yet the slope seemed to push back, the drifts shifting like sand beneath our skis in ways that defied the wind's direction. Luda pointed out patterns in the snow near a stunted pine, deep, circular depressions with no tracks leading in or out. We dismissed it as ice melt, just imagination flaring in the exhaustion. But as darkness fell and the temperature plummeted, the moon cast long, distorted shadows that moved independently of the swaying trees. A subtle ache started behind my eyes, a pressure building not just from the cold, but from within the bones of my skull. Lyudmila muttered something about the stillness feeling thick, like wading through cold oil. Zina shushed her, but her own gaze kept flicking to the tent flap. Taut as a drumhead, why did the fabric seem to tremble without a breeze? Sleep was impossible, not just the cold. Biting through our sleeping bags, but a vibration humming beneath my ribs. Faint, insistent, a low-frequency tremor that made my back teeth ache and filled the air with a scent like damp earth and hot wiring. Then came the lights. Not stars, not aurora, glowing orbs drifting silently beyond the peak, casting the snow in shades of bruised purple and sickly yellow. The air thickened, pressing in, a physical weight squeezing my chest. Panic, raw and electric crackled between us. No one spoke it, no need. Our breaths came in ragged, visible clouds, frosting the air with terror. Igor fumbled for his knife, his movements jerky. "We have to get out," he rasped, his voice thin as ice cracking. The words hung, heavy and final. Our sanctuary suddenly felt like a trap. What waited outside wouldn't be stopped by nylon. We slashed our way out into the screaming cold. No coats, no boots over. Our felt Valenki asterisk, just blind flight from the shimmering distortions dancing above the trees. The cold was a physical blow, stealing my breath, searing my lungs. We scrambled downslope, a broken line of desperate figures silhouetted against the unnatural glow. Snow blinded me, filled my mouth, icy grit grinding between my teeth. My shouts turned to choked gasps, disoriented cries lost in the suffocating white. Then, separation, a sudden drop, a stumble over hidden rocks slick with ice, and the others vanished, swallowed by the swirling snow and those impossible shifting lights. Alone, the silence when it slammed down was worse than the wind, utter, complete. A vacuum where even my own heartbeat sounded monstrously loud. The pressure had vanished, replaced by a hollow, ringing emptiness in my ears. Stumbling blindly, driven only by the animal need to escape the place where the lights had hovered. I found them, first near the tree line, Rustam and Nikolai half buried, not torn by animal or avalanche. They looked frozen mid-strand. Rustam's face was tilted upwards, eyes wide and fixed on the sky above the ridge, mouth stretched in a silent scream I could almost hear vibrating in my bones. Nikolai's posture was curled impossibly tight, hands clawing at his own chest beneath the thin sweater. Deeper in the forest, under a lone cedar, Doroshenko, his skin held a strange, waxy pallor beneath the frost, crisscrossed with livid red lines like frost forming inside glass. No blood. Just that terrible stillness and the faint, lingering scent of ozone and burnt hair. Each discovery was a nail hammered into my sanity. They hadn't fled far. They hadn't fought. Why? What did they see that froze them solid before the cold could even claim them? I ran, not towards anything, just away. It's away from the distorted moon, away from the trees that seemed to lean in with creaking disapproval, away from the memory of those faces. The cold became an abstract thing, a distant agony. My thoughts fragmented. Whispers seemed to coil around the trunks, brushing against my ears, not voices, but the unsettling susurration of wind through dry reeds, shaped almost into words I couldn't grasp. High, thin. Notes like metal wires being stretched to breaking vibrated in the air. The snow took on a greasy texture under my numbed feet. Shapes flitted at the edge of vision, fleeting, angular silhouettes against the snowfields that dissolved when I turned. A paranoia became a living thing. Were they watching, following? The mountain pass wasn't just landscape anymore. It felt aware, curious, as if my frantic stumbling was a grimly a fascinating spectacle observed through the dead, pale eye of the moon. Rescue came days later, a blur of rough hands hauling me onto a sled, muffled voices shouting. Hypothermia stole the clarity, but not the terror buried beneath the ice in my core. Later, in the sterile warmth of the hospital room, the doctors murmured words like exposure, trauma, and hallucination brought on by extreme stress. They meant to soothe. They failed because under the harsh electric light I saw them. Faint spiderweb patterns etched into the skin of my forearm. Bruises, frostbite marks. They shimmered for an instant under the bulb, a network of fine, iridescent lines, feeling impossibly warm to the touch before fading back into mundane mottled purple. A souvenir, a mark, from the touch of the lights, from the crushing pressure, or from something else that moved unseen through the blizzard. The others, they all had anomalies too, missing eyes, shattered ribs with no impact mark. Skin tanned a deep, unnatural brown. They whispered about radiation, about avalanches, about bears. But the terror in Igor's frozen stare, the pattern etched on my skin, it whispers a different story, one the mountain keeps. It's alone now I sit by my window. The nights are hardest, when the moon is full, pale. Watching, eyes. Feel the pressure build again, faintly, behind my eyes. The vibration humming in my jaw. The snow outside doesn't just lie there. It waits, patient, and sometimes I think I hear it. That dry, rustling sound. Almost like words, calling me back to the pass, to finish what it started, or to show me what truly happened under that dead-eyed moon. The silence remembers what I try to forget. What did we awaken out?
Oh, theirs.